The panel discussion topic is Unlocking Potential, CSR as Force for Women-Led Climate Action. This discussion explores the role of corporations in climate action and how that role can amplify women-led solutions. Let me introduce you to the esteemed panelists. Ms. Gauri Bhure. Gauri, can I have you on stage, please? Thank you. She heads the CSR at DXC Technology and is a co-founder of Parenthesis India, with deep expertise in gender, education, inclusion, and livelihoods. With over 2 decades of experience across India and globally, she has worked as a director, consultant, counselor, and teacher trainer. She serves on the advisory board of World Being India and the Keto Foundation and has led inclusive education initiatives with UNESCO and United World Colleges. Thank you, Gauri. I would now like to invite Mr. Tara Chand. He is the head of corporate social responsibility at Oak North, the UK-based bank redefining business lending for the missing middle, with over 20 years of experience across CSR, ESG, public policy, and government affairs. He has worked closely with the Government of India, state governments, social enterprises, and leading nonprofits. He's also the co-founder of the Indian Association of CSR, ESG, and Sustainability Professionals, and a frequent guest faculty at premier institutions. Mr. Vishal Barghoti is a Director of Administration at Wingify Software Private Limited. And he leads the CSR initiatives through the Wingify Foundation. With over 18 years of experience across administration, compliance, workforce management, and social impact, he brings a strong people-first perspective. A University of Delhi graduate with an MBA in HR, he has been long associated with NGOs and is a co-author of 3 books on CSR, interdisciplinary research, and global HR management. So welcome Vishal and Mr. Tarachand. Ms. Pallavi Barua. Hello. She is the global head of CSR at Tata Communications and a seasoned CSR and sustainability strategist with over 20 years of experience leading large-scale social development programs across India. In her role, she drives CSR vision, planning, and partnerships with governments and civil society. Her work focuses on livelihoods, women's entrepreneurship, and youth skilling, enabling thousands of women to build micro-enterprises and sustainable incomes through scalable, high-impact initiatives. And now, a very warm welcome to our moderator, Ms. Garima Babbar. She is the Executive Director at Primus Partners Private Limited and a strategic leader working at the intersection of leadership, public policy, and government relations. She brings deep expertise in marketing strategy, digital education, go-to-market execution, AI skills and partnerships, and focuses on building scalable ecosystems that align policy, technology, and industry collaboration for long-term impact. So welcome you all to the panel discussion again, and we look forward to a very engaging discussion. Thank you so much.
A very good evening to all of you. I'm Garima Babbar, the moderator for the panel today, and thank you so much for the generous introduction for the eminent and distinguished panel here on my left-hand side. I'm truly excited that this particular panel discussion that we are going to have, it's not just be the exchange of ideas and brainstorming that we are going to have, particularly focused on CSR-led initiatives, women, and also climate action. While we are talking about these pertinent issues, and based on some of my experiences and research that I have done, that World Bank research actually says that by eliminating the barriers to economic participation of women in any project really helps the GDP of a nation increase by 20%. And that was the data that really stuck to me. And this actually underscores the topic that we have chosen for today's panel discussion. While on one side, I have experienced professionals in CSR domain, We have Mr. Tarachan, who's going to talk about, the financials, about how women can really help tap into the funds that are available. In fact, that was a topic in the previous panel as well. Money is green. And going forward, what are the best practices that are being implemented on the ground? And maybe towards the end, I would also like to encourage the participants to share not just some recommendations, but also the way forward, so that the audience here can really understand and take that as a roadmap, so that in future, if they have to approach any of the panelists here, they know what are the expectations and how they can work closely. So just having a free flow discussion, maybe we can start with general introduction, just quick one line. I know normally, we've already been introduced, but just one line about themselves. And then, of course, I'll start shooting my questions for the panel. I'll start with Gauri. Gauri, you can introduce what your organization is. And of course, you are the CSR head. We already know that.
Thank you. Thank you, Garima. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Gauri. I had CSR for DXC Technology, where we do a lot of work in livelihoods with a focus on gender and climate. I also sit on the board of Wellbeing, which is an organization that works in mental health and education, and Keto. Thank you.
Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Garima, for the lovely introductions and, of course, for inviting me for this panel. My name is Pallavi. I am the Global Head and Director for CSR at Tata Communications, which is part of the Tata Group. This Terry coming back here at IHC because I started my journey with Terry, the Energy and Resources Institute, 20 years back. And after spending nearly 8 years in the organization, I moved to the corporate sector, which basically helped me understand, what ground realities versus, what expectations from corporate funders are and what the missing line or the gap is. So that has helped me build programs for environment as well as sustainable livelihoods and entrepreneurship skilling in Tata Communications. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to learn so much from all the other three panelists as well today. Thank you.
Thank you. Tarachan, please.
Thanks, Garima. Hi, everyone. Thanks to the organizers for giving this opportunity to be here and interact with you. My name is Tarachan, and I work for Oak North, which is a bank in UK. I have been in the sector for last 22 years, worked with NGOs, with the state governments, with central government, and then with multinational companies. Thank you very much.
And last but not the least, Vishal.
Thank you, Garima. Hello, everyone. My name is Vishal Bargoti, and I work with Winkify Software. It's a SaaS company, and in addition to my normal responsibilities of administration department, I also take care of CSR arm through Winkify's CSR vertical, Winkify Foundation, and social work, CSR, environment, pollution. So I'm dealing with all of these issues for long back as an individual, as a resident of Delhi NCR, and now officially this opportunity has been given to me. So looking forward for a very interactive session, and let's see where we conclude and what suggestions we'll get from you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Let me start with my first question, which is again a very curious question that I always have in my mind. How can we eradicate barriers? Whenever there is any project, of course, while there is a problem, there has to be a solution attached to it. But at the same time, let me start by asking Gauri, who is the CSR head of DX Technology, and she also happens to be the co-founder of Parenthesis India. She has worked at the intersection of gender, livelihoods, climate, and something very interesting that she shared with me over lunch, that she's been a trainer herself, and she enjoys capacity building sessions. And as a practitioner, I'd like to ask her that, Gauri, when we talk about women-led climate initiatives, I'm sure there are certain barriers to it. And what are the top 3 common barriers, whether it is policy, whether it is people, processes, how do we report back, the impact? what has been your experience? Let's understand what are the top barriers.
Thank you for that, Garima. And it is something we sort of grapple with a lot in CSR, because when it comes to women-led climate impact, it's a double-pronged barrier effect, because there is inherently the ways in which climate doesn't lend itself quite as easily to CSR work, or hasn't so far. And then there's, of course, sort of the fundamental gender, the barrier that women face. So let me sort of start with climate. CSR work typically has tended to favor short-term, visible outputs, quick results, asset-heavy work. Climate work is none of those things. You know, it's low gestation period. It's deep-rooted systemic change, and sort of in the short term, it also isn't always very visible. So that's sort of the first key one. The second, and because you sort of mentioned the capacity building, I will say that, yes, women, regardless of what kind of initiative they're working on, tend to be funded less than men. There is a risk perception bias that, you know, if women are handling capital, there's far less that comes with that. But I feel like the key one here also is time poverty. You know, women bear an disproportionately large share of unpaid labor, whether it is within homes or within societies that they function in. And I think that then for founders becomes, for people, this idea that, is this scalable? Is this going to grow? You know, can this woman founder, does she have the appetite for growth? And in our experience, and I'm sure I speak for all of us, that absolutely, you know, a lot of these are very flawed perceptions and misconceptions. But I think we're still some way from fully eradicating those long, deeply held ideas in society.
You're bang on, Gauri. You know, on the contrary, women are known to be the best finance ministers. And of course, at home, look at our mothers, look at our own selves, and of course, the nation as well. Well, this is definitely a perception that it's our shared responsibility to make sure that we not only, you know, take this off everybody's mind, but make sure that women are the best when it comes to handling finances. I'd like to ask the same question to Tarachand as well, you know, because you're into finance and banking. Do you also feel the same, or your experience has just been the opposite?
I have never experienced that, any kind of, maybe I am not from, an opposite gender, that's why I could not experience that. But I have not experienced any kind of discrimination or bias, when we select any kind of, organization. In 20 years, I think more than 50% I have supported organizations who were headed by, women, whether you talk about Seva Mandir, Mobile Crisis, or any organization you talk about, So I don't think, that, while we select the any partner organization, we, look at the gender. There are definitely, various things which we look at. And when you are talking about finances, I don't, I have not experienced. Definitely, I mean, personally, I have seen that, the organizations who are headed by women, they are a little bit better organized, you can say. They, they financially, I mean, they have manage finances well, they are adhere to the guidelines. But I have not experienced any drastic, change because of any gender-related issue that, between male and female.
Thank you for that, and of course, being a woman, and I believe in this as well, not because I'm not, against men handling finances, but well, yes, women have that advantage and that supernatural power to adhere to more processes and make sure that they are well utilized. Well, while we've definitely spoken about this as a barrier, which is more like mindset perception. With that, I'll go further down, and I'll also like to ask Vishal, who's a co-author of 3 books on CSR and has been actively engaged with NGOs since his college days. Am I right, Vishal?
Yes.
Great. Now, the question that I'd like to ask him, that of course, building onto the barrier and the perception that we have, when you look at any women-led project, okay, let me also add in climate action here. Do you think that these projects carry higher risk? And if that's it, that what is the function of risk assessment? And while you share insights about it, what is that one metric or evidence that you want us to refer to so that that we can really understand that yes, this is just a myth in the environment, and whereas if these are the tactics that could be used, we will not only be able to overcome the barriers which are there, but also make sure the process is smooth and impact is high.
Sure. So, first of all, I don't agree that women-led climate projects are of high risk, because calling them high risk, in my opinion, would be the biggest injustice to their hard work and the performance and the outcome we get.
Or it could be anybody's hard work,
Yes.
by just a woman, it could be any project, the team as such.
Absolutely.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And see, women-led projects are generally considered high risk because they operate at grassroots and in underserved geographies, okay? And sometimes with very informal structures. And even if they have a structure, there is a lot of interference and pressures which we cannot measure and which we hardly identify, because we as the CSR operators or someone running the project sitting in the capital or the big cities, we don't know what is actually happening on the ground. The report we get, the data we get, that is hardly 25 or 30% of what actually is happening on the ground. So I would say we need to improve the measurements, the techniques, what elements, what factors we are considering, and we need to somehow, or up to a great extent, we need to ignore the structural disadvantages women face, or the projects which they are operating on ground are actually encountering on daily basis. And we need to focus on the performance at a larger scale. And I'll give you an example, and it's a data-backed example that in India, 80% of workforce in rural area or the agriculture sector belongs to women. And the amount of land ownership or the credits they get is way low. So that is something where we need to pitch in. We need to ensure that we are giving them more and more opportunities. We are supporting them wherever is required and however, wherever we can do and whatever it takes to ensure that they are getting all the support, all the resources, all the fundings, and they are able to work confidently with all the support, resources, technology, and they are able to deliver. And if I take another example of self-help groups from India, with over 8 crore women engaged in national rural livelihood missions, repayment rates are consistently 95% and above, which is a very good data. And if you look at the return, and that too from the women-led SSGs, then I don't think there is any reason to call their projects a high risk.
Good. I appreciate your thoughts about it. And Vishal, if you were to also share, what is that one metric that you would look for any project so that you can give them a green signal? All right, this is good to go, low on risk, high on process driven and impact. What is that one metric that you would look for?
See, it depends upon the nature of project itself, the very first point. And second is how interested you are. If I'm not interested in a particular project and I just want to allocate some fund and close my eyes for for the rest of the year, then it doesn't make any sense. So the involvement and engagement on ground by the donor and the team working on ground is the biggest role player in my opinion.
So involvement, of course, interest and the team involvement, and also, what is the outcome that the team wants to run after in the next 3 to 5 years? Would
Yes,
those be your specific areas that you would look for?
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear. Now, back to you, Gauri and Pallavi. If you want to share some of the best stories, out of the projects that you have been leading, it could be, not related to women in climate action, but it could be something related to women in livelihoods. So something that has really impacted at the grassroots level. If you want to share any success story, I'm sure the audience would love to hear that.
Thank you. And maybe I can even sort of add to what Vishal was saying. A lot of things come across our desk that really flourish in the theater of innovation or pilot stage, and then kind of die a slow death when it comes to dealing with ground reality. So often we find that how integrated a particular idea is within existing systems, and if there is a plan for that over the 3 years, that I think really makes the difference. And so if I think of some of the programs that we have done that we felt really had high adoption rates, the recurring things were how elaborate and intricate the design is, because there is a lot of nuance one thinks about. Is it reducing cognitive load? Is it adding to what people have to do to people who are already often overworked? In the Northeast, we started a program which builds on livelihoods that are climate resilient, sort of future proof. It was ending ultra poverty, so it was really sort of the poorest of the poor households. The two things that we did differently, we built a consumption grant into the work. It was a 3-year graduation program. What it meant was that 1,500 rupees a month was just, this is money that you don't need to account for. This is yours to run the household. What we found that there was just a greater, when there is, I don't know how to put this as best possible, when there is a sense of security that already comes with income that's reliable and happening, there was a lot more ability to then partake of the other things that we were building on. The second program that I want to talk about is we work on a women's entrepreneurship program, and now it's in its 3rd year. And so every year we've had a chance to fine tune it. We were doing entrepreneurship programs, but what really worked was access to credit. So what are the blended finance options? Women were learning all these sort of business models, learning how to start things, build things, make things. We had to work on market linkages, so helping them build catalogs, helping them with pricing, helping them get to market. How do you set up packages and then deliver them to customers, for example. And the second was returnable grants, exactly what Vishal was talking about, very high return rate. They also then started sort of becoming mentors to their community. The capital then was circulating within their own economy and then going forward. So it was unlocking much more, over what CSR could have done. So sort of strategic, CSR is also now trying to be strategic in how it is, what money it can unlock over time.
I like that fact, that you just, underscored that it's CSR, but it's not just about giving out 2% grant, but also to make sure that what are the short-term and the long-term goals attached to it. And also love the idea that once you make those women entrepreneurs, financially secure initially, I think their confidence level increases so that they can participate and they can bring out the desired results. Pallavi, back to you. You've scaled women in livelihoods at national level, and when it comes to climate change proposals lands at your desk, what are the key pointers, like the way Gauri has already stated, that these are the ways that they go about, in any proposal. What are the key pointers that you look for, and what are the common concerns that probably people may have, which you try to then help out your partners during the implementation stage?
Sure. Thanks for that question, Garima. So at Tata Communications, we have evolved over a period of time, and being part of the group. CSR was always a thing to do. It's just part of the legacy. So even before the law came into...
I think CSR is a part of Tata Group's DNA. That's
so
how I would put it.
Even before the law came into place, we worked on livelihood programs. We started with one program way back in 2012, 2013 in Pune, where we wanted to work with women who came from the vicinity of Tata Communications office in Pune. It was not a climate action program, but just to talk about climate action program and also how we look at it now is that we have a very integrated approach where environment, which includes your climate adaptation, disaster risk and response, plus are we just looking at environment? When I say we are working on an environment program, are we also impacting the community through livelihood programs? So that's how the integrated approach is. So whenever a proposal lands at my desk now with a new strategy, which is called Kairos at Taracom, we always look at, and partners do come with, a lot of expectations in terms of that, oh, these are the 3 things we will do, you'll fund us for that. I'm absolutely a very core and hard believer of co-creation. I will first say, this is what I want. I'm not taking any passive projects now where, the partner comes with their own expectations. This is what I'm putting on the table. This is what I expect you to put in the mix. And of course, he will be the implementer for us. One thing that we have learned, and I know there's a question for me which talks about matrices and how we look at programs when it comes to women. One thing that we've always learned that, and Vishal and I think Mr. Tarachand also mentioned about it, about the fact that what happens on the field, 50% of it is reported to us as it is, and what 50% happens is probably, sometimes gets lost in the entire reporting and mechanism. So for me, when it comes, I'm the first one on the field. As a leader, and because I said that, I come from Terry, and I've built that into my, in my portfolio. I'm the first one on the field to understand what is it that the community really wants. And I think Vishal also mentioned about it, that what is it the community wants. So I go with that lens, baseline, and trying to understand what is there. And Gauri also mentioned about, ultra-poor communities. So we've been working with ultra-poor communities in Jharkhand and Orissa, where the fact is that while we have the women at the core of it, and we say, oh, we expect the women to run their houses, raise their kids, do farming, lead climate action programs, but what is it that I'm offering? Projects are, asset heavy. I agree to that because, you have to do a lot of things. But as a CSR leader or as someone who heads CSR for an organization, am I also ready to build in infrastructure for them to survive the long process? Because you do short-term programs, and I think Mr. Tarachand, pointed that, short-term programs with a little bit of impact, which hinders long-term impact, basically, because you are not ready to put infrastructural costs in your project. You are not ready to build capacity. So capacity building, understanding the disaster risk that is there, mitigation approaches that is there, being there, the first to be on the field is something that I really enjoy doing. But for me, the women comes first. So I'm also working on, and very good to know that Gauri works on mental and social well-being. We have also integrated mental and social well-being in our programs, which helps us to understand that, what exactly it is that is going inside a woman's head when you approach them, कि आप ये भी करोगे तो आपको पैसे तो मिलेंगे ही, but time poverty will exist for you. You have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get your kids ready for school, cook your food, go to the field, plus climate action projects or whatever other projects you are doing. So for me, these things matter a lot. And as I said, I want to co-create projects, and I've co-created them, and probably that has been one of the success. And it's not just me, it's my team as well.
No, thank you. Thank you. And I love that perspective of yours, Pallavi, that you go along with the team. So it's not just you command, but you make sure that you show them the impact by being there on the ground with the team as a supporter. And I also like the fact, that you really mentioned, as a woman, the journey that all of us go through, whether it is raising our children, taking care of households, and of course, we have a job also where we don't want to just perform well. We want to lead by example and also grow the teams and the impact on the ground. With that,
can I just add
one more thing? Sure, go ahead. So
just one more thing. So recently I was part of a roundtable where we're talking about exactly climate action programs for women. And we ended up discussing compliance and ground realities, but we never got to the point of actually discussing climate action programs led by women, because I think climate compliance, a lot of it also becomes a barrier, not maybe for the corporate so much, but maybe for the partners. I think there it has to be a give and take, understanding that why we require certain things in a certain way. Just, I'm sure there are people from the not-for-profit
Yes,
section.
I think this is
So just,
addressing
yeah.
to the audience.
Yes, yeah.
Don't just think that Pallavi is declining or accepting any proposal based on her whims and fancies. She has a complete process laid out to adhere to. Am I correct? Awesome. Great. Next question is to Tarachand. Yes. While I was reading your profile, very interesting profile, and it talked about that you're working for a UK-based bank, next generation credit platform to serve the missing middle. I like that word, missing middle in between, and well, if there's any one metric that you can talk about to really make sure that you're able to bridge the gap of missing middle.
Yeah, thanks, Garima. So, see, when we select any project, it is not the project. We look at the entire picture, We conduct an in-depth study of an organization, whether, how good they are at the governance level, whether they are conducting their board meetings, what is the structure of the board, whether, what is the composition of the board. We look at the finances, what kind of, financial health that organization has. So the kind of, business principle you apply when making an investment in a company, same kind of, due diligence and, valuation we conduct on a charity when we are making any investment or, supporting that.
So if I can also ask, something that I would love to know. If you have 10 proposals in one day, how many of them are women-led projects? Women-led projects per se, out of 10, there may be around 3-4 projects. Yes. But focused on women, that is, always there. More than 80% of the, projects we get, they are focused on women, whether you work on water and sanitation, whether you work on, giving scholarships, or, whether you work on regenerative agriculture. So more than 70-80% projects are focused on women. So, for the benefit of the people who are looking for funds, I would like to tell them that, the struggle is when you are setting up an organization, when your organization is not, 3-year-old, or, you don't have enough, cash flow, there is nothing on the balance sheet. So when we analyze a charity, when we analyze a company, when we analyze a non-profit, we look at the, what is the financial health of an organization. If we are providing you 1 CR, are you able to, do you have some kind of reserves in case there is a delay in, giving you installments? Would you be able to manage 3-4 months of, expenditure? So, it is not always a project, that what kind of, results a project will yield. But, what is the overall, health of an organization? How good an organization is structured, or, in terms of, at various parameters. So we prepare a report which lasts in around, 10 to 12 pages. And then that report is presented to the CSR committee, and based on that, decisions are taken. So it's not always that, that only, any single metric which will decide that which project will get the funding. So अगर हमारे पास 3 metrics हैं, एक है impact, scale, and a sustainable long-term project. आप इन तीनों में से कौन सा pick करेंगे?
So I will definitely, not single I will pick. I will definitely go for impact and sustainability.
Scale नहीं?
Scale, for us, scale doesn't matter. CSR money is very small. When you look at the total social welfare funding available in India, that CSR funding is very small. Even if we put together all the 35,000 crores, it is less than what the government is spending on, welfare of the people. Yeah. So scale, for me, scale doesn't matter. For me, what matters is the, what kind of innovation you are bringing to table. What kind of, solution you are providing which is not available, So it is like, it is, the CSR funding is for, bringing innovation, creating innovation. We talked about Gauri talked about that blended finance. So it is about, what kind of, financial innovations you are making in terms of, the financial instruments or,
So very clear, and
solutions.
I
Yes.
really appreciate, and I love the way that you have articulated your thoughts. That what are those 2 or 3 key things that you look for any proposal, and you, of course, you want to promote women-led initiatives, whether it is climate change or anything. But yes, you would like to look for impact, and of course, sustainable, activities being a part of that. Let me, pose a similar question to Vishal. Vishal, according to you, what would be the top two metrics to influence decision making for funding, and also which undervalues women-led climate initiatives? Do you think your team will only rely on impact and sustainability, or in addition to that, any other 2 metrics that you would look for?
Well, if I talk about the general tendency, any CSR team or anyone, designing a CSR project looks at, first is the budget and the cost per beneficiary, because that is how we start drafting our project.
Yeah.
How much we are going to spend. Then second is the scale, how many locations, which particular location, and how we are going to do the assessment, how we are going to do the monitoring, how the reporting would be done to us. Then the most important is the tangible outputs, the number which we can measure and which we can put into our reports. And if I talk about the women-led initiatives in the programs, the scale is something which is lacking. Most of the times what happens is when it comes to deciding among different projects, so people sometimes have sympathy, empathy, or whatever, or just for sake of having it, they say that, okay, let's pick one woman-led program. So this is the general tendency I'm talking about. Big companies, big organizations, they do have their well-laid roadmap for the years, and they do very good decision makings. And the Pallavi very rightly said that she's involved as a leader on ground in each and every step, and ensures that nothing is going into the air. The feedback is reaching her desk. So that is something which we need. And scale is something which needs support and which needs gradual growth.
Got it. Gauri, what about you? While everybody's shared their, desired objectives in the projects which they are looking into, what about you? What are your two or three key focus areas that you look for when you fund a particular project or a particular initiative where you are closely involved?
Actually, so won't repeat because I know some of this has already been said. So what I will add to is what's the exit plan? You don't want to be helicoptering in and out of a community. You really want to think about, are you strengthening the ecosystem to carry on the work beyond you? And so what's the exit plan and what's the conversions? We like to work with the government, with civil society, with community organizations, and with local governance, because ultimately we found that you can't operate in silos, even though it means sometimes slower work and can potentially be a little more frustrating work, but it's the work that really lasts and takes everybody on board.
Great. Gauri, what is more important? Whether it is your mentorship, networks, or institutional partnership. And I'm talking about it referring to the, budgets that have been allocated for any social initiatives in India, where, of course, two of the things that are very important for, from a government standpoint is, of course, Atmanirbhar Bharat and, of course, Viksit Bharat. So do you look for all these elements also in the proposals or the initiatives, that how do you make sure that even if it is a women-led entrepreneurship, there has to be some sort of Atmanirbharta so that it leads to more, towards a larger goal of economic development?
I think what I'll say is CSR, in some ways, we're starting out that we need to really think of ourselves as investors. And sometimes it is, founder with a vision, how solid the design. It can be any one thing you want to champion. But at that point, sometimes you also need to take that step back and let it evolve, give it time. We have these 9-month funding cycles. That's not enough to really show impact. So can you trust the process to go beyond and to go beyond funding? And we can sort of be a systems broker. We sort of can talk between institutions to make this happen for you, because we have some degree of reputational capital. You can be, endorsing, offer the institutional legitimacy for people who are doing brilliant work, who really have hearts in place, have thought it through. Then you just come in as the capital for that.
Thank you. And I think towards the end of it, let's do a quick rapid fire, and this is something, and I made sure that I add as a part of our, panel discussion. And audience, please feel free to ask us any questions towards the end of this. What is that one change that you want to see on CSR, being a leader in this room and in your organization, that which you are going to implement in the next quarter or in the next, fiscal year? Let's start with Vishal. That one change.
I would like to change the project duration from 1 year to at least 3 years. Then only we can look at the better results and more impactful changes in the society.
Can I revisit this topic after 1 year with you?
Certainly.
All right. We'll take Vishal for that. All right. Tara Chand, please.
So we are already, doing 3-year, even, we have supported organization for 12 years. We have supported Sevan for 15 years. And Child Fund, my friend is sitting here, we have supported them for 3 years. So we are already doing that. But for me, what I see is that, there is need to, educate CSR professionals as well. And, because a lot of time when we go to the field or we attend some meetings where, which are focused on non-profits, on their capacity, we learn a lot, the kind of, learnings they brought, it is eye-opening. So I think there is need to train the CSR professionals as well, that it is not only the CSR rules which, drive the entire CSR function, but they can think, going beyond the norms and going, out of box. So that is one thing. And also, we are doing it, and I will continue doing it. We are, we organize these. Initially, we started doing one-day partners meet. Then we realized that, that one-day partners meet is not making any sense. Yeah. Then we said, okay, we'll organize 2-day partners meet. Then we realized that 2 days is a very short period, Then we started doing 3-day, partners meet. So from this year, we are doing 3-day partners meet where we are not only, sharing or, Gauri talked about convergence, We are not talking about convergence between the government. That is definitely there. They are doing it. But we are also talking about convergence between our partners, how they can benefit from each other, how they can learn from each other, and how they can collaborate, So I think that, every, CSR company who is doing CSR, they should look at the, overall picture, and they should work towards, as a facilitator, they should, as a facilitator, they should help these non-profits grow and, through their capacity building. Yes.
Okay, great thoughts. Yes.
Since the gentleman already has a time up board on the desk,
the time is up.
how about an UnPollute climate fund between all of us sitting here, there, plus all over the other sessions that you had earlier in the morning that looks at funding women climate change programs?
Awesome. Great. Let's give a big round of applause on that. And Gauri.
Greater appetite for risk. I think sometimes at CSR, we tend to want to see things that have already been done. So to be able to learn the language of, take a chance on people and let something potentially fail if it means innovating and finding a different way to do it.
Sure. Great. And over to you, audience. Any questions for our panelists? All right. We already have one hand up.
Hi, my name is Zeel. I run a small NGO in Gujarat. It's been 3 years. So the question is, we work for the women empowerment and we provide them with the skills. And then further, we have a production unit where we use textile waste to make different products. The question is, for the younger NGO, when we have already a trusted community, what are the effective ways to identify CSR partners for the long-term CSR partnership? Either of, like, I don't mind if anybody wants to attempt.
Yeah, I think, see, if you have to look at, you have to see that what kind of, if you're approaching any company, you have to see that what kind of interventions they are supporting. Sometimes large corporate houses, they have their compliances, and due diligence processes, where small organizations, find it really difficult. I'm sorry to say that, but they find it really difficult to be, on that list. So I will suggest that, it's better you target the small companies. And the thing is that you also collaborate with, bigger organizations. If you can, if you have in your locality, if you have some bigger organization, you can get in touch with them. If they can, help you, provide some kind of, they can outsource some of their work to you. And that's how you can build your portfolio and grow. And once you reach certain level, then definitely you can raise funds from the corporates. Yeah.
One last question, because the time is up. Yeah.
Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm Bhavini Parikh from Banco Jampo. We are into the textile circularity. Actually, I don't have any questions. Just one powerful ask. Will you join hands to scale textile circularity and women empowerment for a real change?
Yes, I don't see any harm, but it depends, if at a corporate level, because we are not decision makers, we are, bound by the policies of the, of our organization. So if, we can definitely, discuss this, and if the policies allow and the compliances allow, we have, there are so many compliances and, which we have to follow. So if they allow, I don't see any issue in that, yes.
Can I please add one more question over here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have two-part question over here. Because it's a little confusing for me at the moment. Because as much as I understand, CSRs is for non-government organizations mostly, right? And when we are talking about CSR commitments to somebody, we are talking about their growth, their revenue generation, how much would they create, maybe capital or maybe the impact on the society. So thinking of both the terms in the same line, I'm not able to put my finger on how would we be qualified. If we are working as an NGO, we definitely do not have any revenue generation or the big revenue generation over there, right? So if you can please help me out with that.
So NGOs basically are our implementing partners on ground for corporates like us and for DXs, I'm sure. There is the CSR law states very clearly certain rules and regulations that a partner or a not-for-profit has to be 3 years old to generate or get funding from a corporate. So these, as Mr. Tarajan was mentioning, that these laws just does not govern the not-for-profit, it governs us also. These are very powerful laws, and India is the only country in the world which has a CSR 2% law. So I would suggest that please go through it, and I agree with Mr. Tarajan when he answered Zeel's question that when you start out, you can partner with larger organizations, because some of them you become their on-ground partners, like the